It is my pleasure to welcome you to this lecture on the puzzle model. In this talk, I will show how the puzzle model provides a clear and intuitive way to reconstruct complex research objects from fragmented evidence. By identifying, classifying, and connecting individual pieces, each representing a distinct property or clue, we can assemble them into a coherent whole. Through this model, we can bridge the gap between isolated data and a complete, meaningful picture, much like solving a puzzle piece by piece. Let us begin by looking at how the puzzle model works in detail. In this model, the properties of a research object, the second-order signifieds, are like individual pieces of a large, complex puzzle. Each puzzle piece represents a different aspect, clue, or meaning extracted from narrative, decoded through the methods we discussed earlier. At first, each piece by itself may seem insignificant or incomplete, but as more pieces are identified and properly placed, the connections between them become clear, and a bigger picture begins to emerge. When enough pieces are assembled, they form a coherent image, the completed puzzle. This assembled picture is not simply a random collection of fragments. It represents a new, higher-level meaning, a third-order signified. In this context, the completed puzzle stands for the fully reconstructed, structured object as described by the narrative, depicted by the symbols, or shown by the evidence, and decoded through my research. Building on the puzzle model, this slide explains how every single puzzle piece, the second-order signified, must be clearly identified and correctly positioned to accurately reconstruct the structured research object. First, the identity of each piece. Every puzzle piece has a unique identity, defined by four key properties: colors and their properties, the specific hues, shades, and how they interact with other pieces; cut shape and size, locks, the physical shape of the piece, its size, and the way its locks fit with adjacent pieces, representing compatibility with other properties; visible image of objects, the part of the overall picture that is visible on this piece, perhaps a fragment of an architectural detail, a symbol, or a geographical feature; expected identity for adjacent pieces, clues about what neighboring pieces should look like, helping to guide proper connections. Second, the position of each piece. Not all pieces are equal in their structural importance. Pieces can be primary pieces. These are foundational, such as the corner pieces, edge pieces, and those with strong, contiguous connections. They establish the framework and boundaries of the puzzle, just as certain core properties establish the essential structure. Secondary pieces. These fill in the interior, connect primary pieces, and complete the picture, but rely on the framework set by the primaries. This method ensures that each property is not only identified for what it is, but also placed where it truly belongs. The overall reconstruction is logical, interconnected, and as complete as possible, even if some pieces are missing. This slide gives a concrete illustration of how to begin assembling the puzzle by focusing on the primary pieces, the corners, the edges, and those with clear, contiguous connections. Just as in any real puzzle, the corners are essential for establishing the outer boundaries and orientation of the entire structure. These represent the most fundamental properties of the research object, those clues that are unmistakably distinct and anchor the reconstruction, such as key geographical markers or foundational aspects of the civilization. Once the corners are placed, the edge pieces define the outline and connect the corners. These are major properties that, while not as singular as corners, still form the framework of the structured object. Finally, there are primary pieces that are not at the edge, but have strong, direct connections with each other, pieces that fit together because of their clear, mutual compatibility. These represent sets of properties that, when interpreted together, reinforce and clarify each other. By identifying and positioning these primary pieces first, we build a strong, reliable framework for the entire puzzle. This approach makes it much easier and more accurate to place the remaining secondary pieces, and ensures that the overall reconstruction of the research object is both stable and meaningful. Now that the primary pieces, corners, edges, and strong contiguous connections have been assembled, this slide shows the next stage, iteratively placing the secondary pieces to complete the reconstruction of the research object. Secondary pieces are the remaining puzzle fragments that fill in the spaces between the already established primary framework. Each secondary piece has its own identity, but relies on the foundation and boundaries set by the primary pieces to find its correct placement. The process is iterative, meaning that each time a secondary piece is placed, it may clarify or even slightly adjust the surrounding framework, making it easier to fit the next pieces. These pieces often provide detail, nuance, and connection, linking various primary properties together to form a coherent whole. As more secondary pieces are correctly positioned, the overall image becomes clearer and more detailed. The relationships between all parts of the structure become more understandable, and the reconstructed research object, the third order signified, emerges with increasing accuracy and depth. This approach reflects the reality of interdisciplinary research. New evidence, interpretations, or contextual clues can always help fill in gaps, refine boundaries, or connect previously isolated pieces. In conclusion, the puzzle model demonstrates that even the most fragmented and scattered pieces of evidence can come together to form a clear, coherent image when approached with method and patience. By starting with the primary pieces that define the framework and then carefully integrating the secondary ones, we create a stable and meaningful reconstruction of the research object. This process reminds us that understanding history or any complex phenomenon requires seeing how each element fits into a larger whole. Thank you for your attention, and I hope this approach encourages you to approach your own research like solving a great puzzle, one piece at a time.